Hi, good evening, friends. And this was actually an impromptu decision to come back to you on a Facebook Live, which was not at all planned, but it was very interesting. Why? Because I got a lot of feedback while I was discussing on the different distribution models, what are the effective distribution models, and I was actually told by a lot of people that why don't you repeat this for the different type of distribution models and other models, right? So I thought, why not today we take up a discussion of how to be more focused and effective in sales, because I believe and I probably understand that every one of us in business, in entrepreneurship, in careers believe that sales is a subject which cannot be avoided. If you are in a business, if you are in sales, so probably this word sales carries a lot of importance inside your business, because ultimately, whether we are into manufacturing or we are into trading, that means we carry inventories. Sales is the only way which can actually turn the entire ball. If sales are not there in whichever form it is, then the manufacturing units will stop manufacturing at one point of time, as well as the people, the business people who are into trading, into distribution will also get hold of the stocks. They will get stuck in the stocks and thus get a bad remark from the bank. The money flow, the cash flow will get disturbed. So end of the day, it is sales in whichever way it may be. There are, as last time I discussed in 25th, there are various type of sales, like a direct to home sales, which we known as a direct to customers. There are distribution sales which we carry on to the different distribution channels through warehouses to warehouses and to another warehouse and to the dealer warehouse, and ultimately the customers buy from them. So there are pros and cons of each and every type of sales model, distribution model. But there remains another, just another model of sales, which is project sales. That means where we take up the entire work order the, of the entire requirement, and then we try to solve it, we try to give it back to the end customer as a whole. That means we actually accept the entire PO, okay, that is turnkey basis, which we call as a turnkey basis workloads. So there are different types. Now, each and every sales model requires different mindsets. That's very important. So we have to be careful whether we are placing our people in the right place or not. The mindset which is required for a distribution model may not be required for a project model. However, at the same time, the mindset which is required for a project model may not be appropriate for a distribution model, because a project model starts from the inception, from conceptualization the product, creating the need in the customer, and then finally create the BOQ, which we call as the entire thing, the BOQ of the material, as well as that is the plan of the material, and then we get on procuring the material and ship it to the end customer, and then get it installed and ultimately hand it to the customer. So this is one different type of and this is one type of sales. The other type of sales, which I have already discussed on 25th, was that the distribution sales. A distribution sales means you have produced something, you are doing a trading, you are a manufacturer, you are the CNF of a good number of large number of products, and your people are out in the market in distributing the materials in the different levels of the society. So how it works? You get the materials from your OEM, from your suppliers at your warehouse, and then if you are a distributor, you distribute to the specific range of dealers which has been allotted to you within a specific region which also has been allotted to you. So in a distribution model, You are never free to work wherever you want. So a distribution model is created based on a location, based on a restricted number of dealers, and managing those dealers, those retailers, how they can improve their business, as well as encouraging a lot of internal activities within the dealer fronts inside the dealer's shop, and then encouraging the customers and also encouraging the customers to buy those products depending upon the utility. So in this particular case, we come to the utility, the need of the customers later than than the project one. Because in the project one, we create the utility, we understand what is required, what the customer is wanting from us, and then we work back on it. We are not fixed on certain range of materials. We have our hands on different range of products, which we can actually bring it together and give a good solution to the end user. So how to become focused and effective in these? So there are two different type of people. But yes, there is a third type of people which I always regard to, who are a mix of these two. These people actually understand the way around. They understand the requirement, and then they understand the philosophy running with the dealers, because the dealers, the retailers, the system integrators, which we called as the people who are actually addressing to the end users for the bigger projects, and at the same time SIs, AVSIs, and all type of value added dealers, everybody are also working on those end users. So to keep a connection between the end user, the value added distributors, the value added dealers, and your supply is a very, very difficult, and it's a mindset that what not everybody can carry it with them. Okay. So coming back, let me start with the project side. How to be focused on a project side. So to become more effective and more focused and remain focused on a project side is you have to silently work with different end users directly, as well as value added resellers or value added dealers who are also working on those end users, and then measure it, what is working for you. Because in such cases, you have to focus on the people who are in the market. You have also to focus on the people who are actually the end users who wants to buy this. And you need to be present there as a solution provider to the end user without hurting the feelings of the value added dealers who have already engaged with them. It may happen that you don't carry those materials with them which the end user is wanting. Now this becomes a very tricky situation. You don't carry those materials what the end user is wanting, but then you have landed in that particular case, and then what you do? So you go back to your place and then find out how to match your product lineup to the requirement of the end user. And at the same time, you also need to keep a good notice on the value added dealers and the resellers who are actually working on it and what they are actually focusing on. So it's rather a mind game rather than direct selling to the product. And then when in a project sales, it is not only the product alignment, it is also to design the product to suit the requirement of the end user at a most affordable price. I will not say an affordable price, at a most agreeable price, because all affordable prices may not fetch the good materials in the market. So you may not look for a very cheap product at a very affordable price for an organization, for a boardroom, for different type of utility. So it all depends on what you're trying to focus it. The most important part to being a Project sales head or bring in project sales is your body language, is your knowledge that you carry within, is your grip over the subject, is your intention to give a right answer and a right solution to the end user, so that the relation between you and the end user becomes more prominent than the products we use. Because once this wavelength gets achieved, the products what you use, and if it actually suffices the requirement of the end user, whatever you give does not matter unless and until there is a biasness. So when we talk about a biasness, we jump into another part of the sales, which is tender sales, the government sales. So many a times, I have seen people landing up at a tender through our dealer network when the tender is automatically made, is already made, it is in place, it is already published. My dear friend, we have got very little to do at that particular place, because tender business happens much before than it is published. You have to keep your eyes and ears open to understand what is happening where, because tenders in a government organizations, tenders in public sectors are a long-term process unless and until there is a emergency, and such emergencies are very less, but it is a long-run process and it is taken up very, very carefully. So the product is made, the need is created. In case of a tender, the need is created first. And those people, those sales individuals who are able to be present at that particular moment while the need is created, they actually embed their specifications inside that tender. So it then helps you to differentiate from the other players. Now, at the same time, it is not only your specifications which will make the tender float. It has to be a part generic with some USPs as per your requirement. But this work does not happen in a one single day and you just jumped in as a messiah and then you say that, this is the product, this is the best product, and you should do this, and you should buy this, and you should do this. No, it doesn't happen that way. It goes through a lot of people. When we talk about a lot of people, a lot of designations, it goes through a lot of designations with a lot of ideas, and each and every designation has got a different reading about the subject. And that makes you more and more focused, because now you have started focusing on the different departments through which that file is actually moving physically and ultimately getting the nod to float the tender. Now, as you all know, which I don't need to tell you, that there are two different type of vendors. One is very closed tender and one is an open tender, depending upon the different valuations on the tender. So if you're not aware of it, please speak to your seniors about it. What is a closed tender? What is an open tender? And what is the procedure, how to work in a closed tender and how to work in an open tender? The focus is different. So this is where you're talking about project sales, tender sales, where you are creating your mindset, where you're actually aligning your mindset, you're aligning your wavelength with the buyer, and then try to get into the finish line with them, whether yourself alone or maybe along with your value-added dealers who are helping you to do this. So in many cases, different big corporations have got already empaneled suppliers with them. It makes sense when you are actually aligned with those suppliers who are already aligned with the end user. It makes the process easier in the way that you don't need to empanel yourself, which is again a process. It can go through references, it can go through your last 3 years and 4 years, your project valuations, your returns, your turnovers, maybe your bank statements, and all those things can come into the place. So many organizations today prefer value added dealers for this because they already have a connection with an end user. That's very important. So it makes a thing easier. But the catch is when you're working with the value added dealers for a end user project, you need to check that golden triangle. It has to be foolproof. It has to be completely faithful, and you should know exactly what is happening, what is the strength of that value added dealers. In many cases, it has happened that people have got into problem going through our value added dealers because of finance and all other structures. You should be able to identify those valuable value added dealers who can actually take you to that end user and get the things done. Now, the situation changes when you are directly involved into that. When you are directly involved into that, your relationship, the number of years you have spent with them, what is your past record with that organization, with that purchase department, and with all those things. So, what happens when you do this? You can actually create and find, rather, I would say, you can find and create a need within the organization and give them a good solution for one of their requirements. So when you talk to different people in different organizations, I promise you, you will find that lot of people within the organizations have got lot of ideas which they don't know how to bring it onto the table. Because having ideas does not solve the problem. Bringing those ideas on the table and justifying them actually solves the problem, which makes the business correct. So you play as a catalyst there. When you are running this entire episode of finding out the problem, creating the need of the solution of that problem, evaluating the problem, and then validating it with the different officers of these organizations, and ultimately get into a closed tender or maybe a public tender, or maybe it's just by a quotation, a three or four best quotations, you get your job done. So this requires definitely a completely different mindset. When we talk about mindset, we talk about how our mind works when we are into a situation, how we think ahead of the person we are sitting before. That's the mindset. So if you are able to understand that, then it is fine. Who is fit for what? If you're not able to understand that, please tell us. We will have a complete analysis of the people in your organizations, and we can give you a heads up on the qualities that each and every people carry with them. Remember, each and every people carries some qualities with them which are very, very prominent on them, and some qualities which are very, very dormant in them. So you as an entrepreneur, you as a business people cannot waste your time in finding out the great qualities in a person. There are systems available, okay, which can help you to understand the different uh, qualities of a person, and that will help you to place a proper person in the right place so that your journey becomes easy and more profitable. That's very important, because doing a business is good, but earning from a business is very good. Again, making a business profitable, cash rich is very, very important. And that's what the business is all about. There are a lot of people who are struggling doing businesses, working hard, but not able to make it profitable. So we need to get back why it is not profitable. What are the reasons it is not profitable? Why everybody thinks that I am profitable, but actually I'm not profitable. So we need to dig inside it and understand one thing: out of all your resources, the human resources plays the biggest role in that profitability. So talking about the end user, directly getting into the end user, and then coming back to the distribution channel where we go through the indirect channel and then come back to the end user, getting the information from the dealers. Now understand that your dealers, your resellers, your value added dealers, the SIs, the system integrators, the audio video system integrators, everybody is working on several cases to justify their presence in the market. So if your salesperson is coming back to the office saying that, no, sir, the market is very bad, there are no inquiries in the market, I will tell you to get into a caution mode, because there are businesses in the market. Maybe the volume of the business can vary from time to time, and depending upon how actually we are involved into that, how we are evolving through that. But it cannot be that at any point of time there is no businesses at all. Market is never pure. The cash is market always ripe, is always ripe in some places, and it is always less in some places. For example, Maruti declared to be running at a loss for some Q1, the Q4 of last year, and that's why they are actually realigning their entire systems inside in the organization. Whereas there is another organization, they say that they have made a good Q4 profit instead of the slowdown. So this is a very, very relative structure depending upon the three P's. So it makes so interesting. Yes, my friends, my entrepreneurs, and who are actually listening to me or might be listening to it later on if they're interested into it. And I hope they will find value inside it, because everything depends on the three P's. What are the three P's? The products, the place where you're doing the business, as well as the people who are doing the business for you. Now, let me take some time in talking about this product, places, and people. A product, you need to find the niche of your product, how that particular product or services of yours is slightly different from your competition, which can be your USP, which you can mention in your specifications in the tenders. There has to be some USP in each and every product. Sometimes it goes very silent that we are not able to come out with that. We are not able to understand that. It may be the after sale services. It may be the product value. It may be the legacy of the product. It may be the product in the demo. So whenever I always see wherever there is a problem in understanding a product, please push the end user, your prospect, to have a demo of the product. Don't just flow out your specification chart to the customer and say that, please understand, these are the specifications which are very good. Nobody is scared about it. They want to visualize it. That is more important. So give the demo in hand. Now you will say, and how can we give the demo of all products? Yes, you can give the demo of all products either visually or maybe, putting it in a particular diagram in a piece of paper. A person going for an audiovisual equipment in their home, in the residences, or in their offices, in the boardroom, you can always carry equipments with you and give them a live demo. This helps to get more confidence of the products apart from the product features. Product features actually explains the product, and the demo of the product or the services actually explains the product itself, the usage of the product, how that particular specification is getting used and is beneficial to a day-to-day life. That is what a demonstration of a product means. So previously, in our early days, we used to see, a lot of FMCG companies are doing a lot of activities in the dealer's place. So we used to call them in-shop demos. So what happens in in-shop demos? There are some people, there are some ladies, some boys who stands there and gives demonstration of those products to the walk-ins. We have also seen the examples, and we see it regularly when the products are displayed and given out for demos in certain LFRs. In all big houses and LFRs, you will see there are all demonstrations for demonstrations. They're all demonstrations for demonstrations of all the products, because people want to touch, feel, and visualize what they are going to buy. that brings them, that gets them into a lot of confidence, and that is where you can actually edge on your competition. Correct? So this plays a big role. If you are a person who is into sales profession, one of the honest profession, one of the most important profession, I will say, and one of the most engaging profession, I will say, a sales profession it is. This is the only profession you can make it as interesting as possible. You may not follow the broad lines of the entire product, but you can make it interesting and thus help an end user to buy a product. Whenever an end user comes to buy something or decides to buy something, he actually decides where to go. And if he goes back to the normal place, to the original place, to the same place which he goes every time, that means he's going up not only for the institutions, but for somebody who has helped him to buy in his initial purchase. That's very important. That means you are keeping a mark in his mind. That is what a sales is all about. You are bringing in solutions. You are not just moving a box to somebody else's requirement. You are bringing him solutions. That person is always trying to remember you whenever he needs something. You are always available there for his mentorship. You are mentoring him to buy something, and that remains in his mind. So that is how you can completely change your attitude and be focused on what you're doing. If it is through an indirect channel, then keep your focus also on the channel partners, because they're a very important part of our entire purchase cycle, because they carry material with them, they give delivery to your houses, to the customers places. They take all the brunts of the customers. Okay, they try to be an and offline call center for all the customers difficulties, and that's very important, and that's very, very important. Otherwise, today when you are buying something from bigger organizations, from LFRs, you only have a call center, you only have those 10 digits or 9 digits number as your friend indeed. But when you buy from a retailer, from a shopkeeper, you have somebody to fall back on. Keep this in mind. This will help you to encourage more and more physical business. Yes, I know today buying facility, I mean, the speed of buying is more evident when you buy online. There are big players in the online domain. There are Flipkart, Amazon, and there are a lot of online happening with the OEMs that are directly coming into the online, because it gives access to people irrespective of the geography from where they belong to. Whereas when you are looking for a product in your own vicinity, there is a restriction, I understand, yes, because if the shop is not open, then you cannot buy it. But remember one thing: when you buy with the confidence. You buy with somebody who is there to help you out. There are some understanding problems. There are some technical problems which normally happens when you're buying something. It do get solved from the end customer, but if there is a dealer or there is a retailer and you buy it from a shopkeeper and an IT retailer, always maybe a suiting retailer, a cloth merchant, anybody, you get more personalized services. Sometimes it makes a difference. Keep it in mind. If you want to use that, use that. Otherwise, the entire online is there for you. You can buy it from anywhere, anytime, any number of any part of the time, any part of the day. That's the most benefit part of it. So in this episode, which was really an impromptu episode, I was getting a lot of requests to repeat this. My dear friends, one thing I can tell you: if you are an entrepreneur, you need to have a team which understands what they are supposed to do. And if you are a team member of a growing entrepreneur, of a growing businesses, then you need to understand what you are for there. If both the things come together at one place, I don't think success can evade you at any point of time. So I don't take much time. I will not take much time from here, because The more we say, the more we can keep on discussing about it. But I will definitely tell you that get your people assessed. The cost of assessing an employee may be less than a four family dinner at one point of time. If you think it in that way, if you actually weigh it with the price of it, but it brings you a lot of satisfaction. It brings you a lot of attention to the core thing, and it helps you to put the right person in the right seat in the right bus, so that it will be easy to run that business. That's how, I mean, how the discussion was. I think it took a lot of time. Yes, we have already taken more than 20 minutes into this, and kindly look into that product lineup and look into that suggestions. And with this, I sign off as Kaushik Chandra, founder and CEO of At Connect Redefining Businesses. We are coaching business people, entrepreneurs, how to increase their profitability, how to actually align their processes, systems, their operations, finding out the KPIs of the different persons within an organization, and then make it a solid background for that organization to grow. And at the same time, we also take care of the people, of the human resources available with the organization, and help them to understand what are their doables. Because there are so lot of time when people, when when we join the organization, and then after some time we find that we are not fit for this particular organization. I was not supposed to do this, but I am doing this. So discussing with those people, making them more effective, keeping their focus aligned, and helping them grow indirectly and directly helps the organization to grow. So with this, good night to all of you. I will be back to you on the coming Friday with another interesting topic on this. We'll share it in the different platforms. Thank you so much.